Welcome to episode 205 of the XS Noize Podcast, where we focus on in-depth interviews with musicians, artists, and people involved in the music industry. I'm your host, Mark Millar. Thanks for listening. In this episode, I speak to Tony Mortimer to discuss the 30th anniversary of the E17 Christmas classic, Stay Another Day. If you missed the previous episode, I spoke to Phil Etheridge from The Twine to discuss the 15th anniversary of their second album, Jewelry Quarter. So check it out, and if you like the podcast and would like to support it, please subscribe for free on your favourite listening platform, give us a rating, and leave a comment. E17's Stay Another Day is a beloved Christmas classic, spending 5 weeks at number 1 in 1994, surpassing Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. It achieved double platinum status. It topped the charts in 8 countries and earned Tony Mortimer an Ivor Novello Award. For its 30th anniversary, Tony is partnering with Nordoff and Robbins, the UK's largest music therapy charity, to highlight how music can offer hope, healing and connection to those facing illness, disability or social isolation. In this episode, Tony Mortimer reflects on the creation of Stay Another Day, his collaboration with Nordoff and Robbins, and shares memories from his time with E17. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the XS Noize Podcast with Tony Mortimer. So hi Tony, welcome to the XS Noize Podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you. Before we talk about the track and the charity, I'd like to go back to the start with my guests. So can you let me know who were some of your earliest musical influences and how did they shape your music?
Well, I think the first one would be Elvis when I was a kid, the Beatles as well. I remember being really young and hearing I Want to Hold Your Hand. And that kind of stuck in my head. Obviously, John Lennon, the Imagine album, or the Imagine, that whole period. Prince, he was a funky little devil. The hip hop scene really influenced me before the dance scene came along. And I loved the charts as well because you just had such a mix. You know, you could like certain things and not like others, but the top 40 was great to get some inspiration from all different types of people. Bob Marley, loved a bit of Bob Marley. He was a wonderful lyricist. I was exposed to lovers rock and reggae with my sister and Jimi Hendrix with my brother. So a very eclectic, broad musical. I was very lucky. But towards the end of my teens, it was sort of hip hop. And then the dance, I mean, it was wonderful. The whole dance scene took off and that was great. And then after that, I kind of went through the music and then listened to music a lot less as I got older. But I don't know, Prince was a massive influence, but he was such a genius. It was really hard to copy him. You know, his vocal range, his chord progressions, it was like you just couldn't copy him. It weren't exactly simple. Some of the stuff was simple, but, you know, the harmonies and everything, he was just out there.
And you're sort of similar age as me. And you're saying about the
21.
charts, you know. Yeah, well, I'm 21 and a half. But what I've been told, listening to the charts in the 80s, and all through the 80s, sort of maybe late 70s, compared to nowadays, back in the 80s, you turned on the radio and every song sounded different.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Where now it's all very similar.
Yeah, there was a lot of different genres back in the 80s, wasn't there? There was, you know, something for everyone. And it was pop because it was popular. But like you say, it was pretty vast where it was coming from. But at the moment, it's not as vast, but it's different because you don't have the massive, I don't think you have all the A&R people that you used to have and that. So what you've got basically is people making their own music and inspired by certain people, and they'll all be inspired by that song for a time. Whereas I think you had great A&R people We had a great A&R person at London Records called Tracy Bennett, and they are, they are really worth their weight in gold, and they can change mixes of songs and stuff. So I think all that's changed from the 80s and 90s, especially now. I think the industry's much smaller, isn't it? It's not what it was. It's not huge conglomerates now that control big money-making things. It's much smaller now.
Yeah, I suppose because a lot of people are just making music in their bedroom.
Yeah. Well, everyone wanted to be a pop star, and I think a rock star, and I think what we've done is we've invented the technology where we can do that, and now we've got the technology. You can make it. It's on your computer. The mixing. We used to have Neve desks with flying faders that cost like £500,000, and you'd have an engineer there 24/7, and they take up a whole room. Now you've got it all on your computer at the press of a button. So it's a completely different thing, but we've made it accessible. Now anyone can do it, and that's the beauty of it.
Well, it's the 30th anniversary of East 17's Stay Another Day. It's become one of the all-time most beloved Christmas hits. It spent 5 weeks at number one when it was released in 1994, beating Mariah Carey to the top of the charts. Number one in 8 countries, going top 10 in countless others. And you received an Ivor Novello Award for it. Now, Stay Another Day, it's a deeply emotional track. The bells in the song have a Christmas feel, though it wasn't originally a holiday song.
No, it wasn't. It was, it was nothing to do with Christmas. It was written in July. It was just a ballad for the album, a little quiet ballad to go on the album. But it certainly wasn't a Christmas song, and it certainly wasn't. It's kind of taken on, as the years have gone on, it's kind of lost what it was, and it's become something else, which is now sort of a Christmas song, and people hear it and they go, now Christmas has started for them because it's associated with Christmas, which is kind of funny. But no, you're right. It didn't start out as a Christmas song at all. It didn't start out. It wasn't even going to be a single. If I Had My Way, it wasn't going to be a single, and it weren't going to be a Christmas song. But that changed when the management heard it and the record company, and they just thought it was a strong song that could compete with the Christmas market. And I thought it was a bit, it weren't really, I think it would have been okay for the album, but it weren't really, representative of the E17 sound at the time, which was kind of dancey and much harder. But it worked. It worked. They released it against my wishes, and it worked. And I'm glad they did.
You originally wrote it about your brother, didn't you?
Yeah, that's what's inspired it. Yeah, his death. That's what, like you draw on things to write songs about. And when you're under pressure to write an album, you think, oh, what can I write about? I could write about a club. I can write about meeting a girl, or, you've got all these sort of things that you could write about. And then I just thought, oh, I'll draw on that and write a song with some lines to him and stuff. And it's sort of, that's where it started. And it sort of grew, and people liked it, and the public liked it. And it's kind of, I've said it before that I often think, is this the year they stop playing it? But it hasn't been yet. And to think it's been 30 years is insane. It's, of a record, it's just insane.
I think it's just forever going to be a staple in the Christmas calendar, and going into supermarkets, and it's going to be plays. It's a lot of people's favorite Christmas song, so that must make you feel amazing.
It's so surreal. I came out of Tottenham Court Road the other day, 2-3 days ago, and I came across, and there's this thing outside Tottenham Court Road where it's like a space. You can go in there, and they play these massive videos, and it was Stay Another Day was playing as I came out, and it's still kind of, it's still not odd, but surreal. So I went in there and listened to it, and it's great because it's out. It's like it's everyone else's song now, and it's part of Christmas and all that, and that's cool.
Over the years, how has your relationship with the song evolved?
I've let go of it. that's how it's evolved. At the beginning, I was so protective. I didn't want it released. I didn't really want it heard. It was just an inspiration. It was something that I felt really emotional about. And as time's gone on, I've learned to let go, because you have to. And it was, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, especially with a career musically. So over the time, I've let go of it, and now I look on it. A lot of people just see it as a fun Christmas song and stuff, and that's what's important, is how people see it, and because it's how they see it and hear it that keeps it alive. So I don't mind, I can do things to it, but the people would tell me off if I touch the song. It's very weird. But my relationship, I haven't distanced myself. I've just, I'm happier with it now. I'm happier performing it or whatever, although my performance of it is stopping. But I'm at one with it, where I wasn't years ago. I wasn't, and it was very difficult. It was very difficult for something that to me was so personal to be, I don't know, sort of made into like a gimmick. But I can't find the right word. But it was something I got used to. So over time, I've learned to let go of it and become less emotionally attached. It means what it means to me, and it means what it means to different people. So I like hearing what it means to people.
And it's been covered quite a lot by Georgia Smith, Kylie Minogue, Girls Aloud, Churches. Have any of their versions surprised you?
I don't know. I don't really have a favourite. I do find it strange though when they cover it. So I'm like, that was inspired by my brother, and you're now singing it. That's a bit weird, but I think it's because it's quite an easy song to sort of sing. It's only based around 3 chords, and I think that's why they do it. But or maybe they like it. I don't know. Or they heard it and went, "Yeah, we can improve that." Yeah, lots of people have covered it, and I think that's a compliment. It is a compliment. But people do send me links, and they say, "Oh, have you heard this person singing it and stuff?" And no, I haven't. I haven't heard the Kylie Minogue version, but I heard she's done a version. It's very, very flattering when they do.
Well, for the 30th anniversary, you've partnered with Nordoff and Robbins, the UK's largest music therapy charity, and you'll be performing a special rendition of the song at the Nordoff and Robbins choral service in London on Tuesday, December the 10th.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with them, and what can we expect from the performance and the version you're going to perform on that night?
Well, the record company were willing to celebrate the 30th as a milestone, but I didn't want to, I'm not signed to the record company, so I didn't want to just release it and, put it out there and see how it does again, because there's no need to do that. It's already in the Christmas atmosphere. But I said to them, if, I don't want to take something, if we can give something back or make it part of a charity and do it in that way. And there was talk of music therapy and mental health and stuff, and trying to, if we could tie it in with that. And so the record company got in touch with Nordoff and Robbins, which, as you say, are the biggest music therapy. And the job they do is amazing. And I'm really, if they'd just released it, I probably wouldn't have had anything to do with it. But because they've done this, I feel really proud and really honoured that I can maybe get the word out there a bit with yourself on your podcast and that, and all your listeners. There'll be lots of them that go, well, what's music therapy, and it helps people, autistic children and all sorts, and it's helped so many families. And music is so important. I mean, I know it really helped me through my teen years. It helps so many people through their turbulent times. But it's also quite scientific, the way it helps. When you're working on music, you're in the now, which is really good. So you're not anxious about the future or depressed about the past. And they say you should really try and get into the now. And I think that really helps people when they're working on music. And that's what the therapists try to do with their students. And also the way music affects the brain waves and stuff. I know when sometimes I can't sleep at night, I'll put on relaxing music and it will calm the brain waves. I don't know how it works. It just calms your mind and off you go. And I think music therapy is a lot deeper, and we could go into it a lot further. You know, some people use white noise to calm their minds, or there's purple noise and different coloured noises. And I think we could really look into it and bring it out into the open, that music actually is quite special, other than just making songs and stuff.
No, it is definitely, music is definitely the best thing. You know, going out to a gig, sitting in by yourself, listening to music with other people, you know, it is definitely the best therapy. And it's got me through a lot of things, you know.
It really does, and the way it kind of attaches itself to emotions, and you can hear a song. You know, I bet you hear a song and it will take you back to your childhood, or it'll put you in a room with someone in your mind. And the way it does it definitely has a really strong effect on the brain. And with Nordoff and Robbins this year, I can I guess it's kind of selfish as well, because it's making me feel really good about being part of it. But I wouldn't have been part of it otherwise this year. It would have just been it was the 30th year and that was it. But I really think we could get the message out there, and, you know, it won't get to number one, whether it gets to 100 or the magic 17, I don't know. But what we can do with people like yourself is get the message out about music therapy. And like you say, I am doing a rendition of it at the church, and it's going to be beautiful because it's near Christmas. The church is where Charles Dickens got married, so there's that Christmas carol thing, and it'll be with a choir, a little string section. I've got this girl Ruby, she receives music therapy, and she's playing the bass. She's had a lot of troubles, and music's really helped her. And then I'll be playing the piano, and I think it's going to be really, really awesome.
You wrote many of these 17's hits. Did the success of Stay Another Day change your perspective on songwriting? Did you feel pressure after that?
After it?
Yeah.
No. Before. There was a lot of pressure before. After it, no. I knew it had kind of ruined everything because I could never achieve that again. It was the pinnacle, wasn't it, in terms of sales and chart position. We'd had a few 2s and 3s and 4s or whatever, but it didn't really put any pressure on it. I think the funny thing is, people will go and they'll hear a song afterwards, but because the song, they're hearing it before it's been sold, they'll sort of have doubts about it. And they'll think that there was a lot of people that sort of, well, let's do another Stay Another Day. And you think, well, you can't just do one. I didn't sit down to do one. It happens. And at the end of the day, it's the public that choose it. So you've got to put it out there and see if the public want to choose it and accept it. But I kind of think, I don't know, I was quite happy with that one. And it did change the perspective. It did change everything. But the pressure was more before, because I hadn't delivered a number one, and our competition at the time, who was Take That, was just had so many number ones. So I did feel I put myself under pressure to kind of deliver one, but I thought of that we never would. And I remember listening to it on the charts, the countdown, and I think we got to, it was number 3 or 2, it was number 3 and I was like, well, it's either number 2, which it isn't, because it can't be, and it definitely isn't number 1. So this has flown out the charts. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking this has flown out, but it didn't. It was number 1, and that's still, that moment, it was like...
Amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing, because I had hoped for a number 1. You know, I'd like to be cool and say, it didn't matter, but it did. It did. And it was really, it was really good.
Yeah. And how did you feel in the video, spinning round and round with
That was
all the gear on?
I don't think, like you do in most videos, you just feel a bit silly. But when they put it together, it was on a wooden. I think they was moving it by hand. I'm not sure. Was it a motor? There might have been a motor actually, but I think they were moving it by hand. It was like that old and archaic. It was, but it was a very cold hanger. I just really hoped, it was a Christmas song. I just thought it was going to be like, Last Christmas when they clearly flew Wham out to this lovely country where there was snow and mountains. I thought, well, we might get that. But no, we got like a hangar, an old aircraft hangar. I think it was in West London or something. It was freezing cold and we was there for a day. It was just weren't the glamour. It weren't what I thought we was going to get. And they really loved the idea of the single, the record company, but they never sent us to maybe Switzerland would have been nice, or Austria.
E17, you had incredible impact during the 90s. You had 18 top 20 singles, 4 top 10 albums. What do you think set the group apart from the other boy bands of the era? And were you comfortable being tagged as a boy band, put in that box?
I don't know. It kind of ran away with itself and went off and became its own thing. I always thought we was a bit different. I thought we was always a bit in charge of our own career in that sense. Songs weren't handed to us and stuff like that. So I don't know how that works or what that would be like to be in a band like that would be. I know. That'd be terrible. For me, that's not my expression. My expression is through writing. So if that stopped, then there'd be no point me being in the band, really. But I don't know what set us apart. I think we was just a little bit different. We had our foot in a couple of different genres where we was sort of a bit dancey at the same time, especially in the early years. And I think we grew into this boy band thing, but we was different than other boy bands, which were more, I think a lot of them were sort of vocal harmony groups, and we were more vocal discord than harmony. I think that was the main difference. We did what we did. We was more chanty as well. I think in the early days, our original sound was chanty. A bit like House of Love and It's All Right and things like that. But it was good fun. It got carried away on this boy band thing, and I'm grateful it did. It was a good 4 or 5 years. It was crazy, but the alternative would have been worse.
And you mentioned Take That. Was there really a rivalry between the both bands, or did you really get on?
Well, no, we didn't really get on. We didn't really see each other that much, but when we did see each other, we'd say hello and stuff. It wasn't really rivalry as such. No. I think that once again, that was kind of the media type thing, which you can't have that today because the media used to say things back then, and that was it because that was the only outlet. But now you can say things online and you can put your side of the story across. So that probably would have been quashed quite quickly. But we was definitely competition. It wasn't rivalry, but we was the competition with each other. And I think our fans, weren't allowed to like theirs and theirs weren't allowed to like ours, thinking back. But I think they did. Quietly.
It was sort of E17 were the cooler bands you were supposed to like,
Yeah, I think it was a bit cooler, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Yeah. It felt blokes could like E17. It was okay for blokes to like E17, but not Take That.
Yeah. yeah, it was. Yeah, you could. I mean, the songs were different as well, and they was a bit more dancey compared to other compared to other boy bands and all that. I think we were a boy band, but we were quite different because we all knew each other. So it was a different process of how it got together. It was always sort of there. We knew each other. It was just a different process. It was different than all the others. The way they were put together and stuff. So I think that made it a bit different.
Well, your manager at the time, Tom Watkins, he sort of based the band around you initially, didn't he? So how would you describe his influence on the band's direction, both musically and visually?
Oh, massive, because he was in touch with the record company and Tracy Bennett, who is a man, by the way, and they would, do dance mixes and stuff. It was massive. And the marketing that went along with it, the marketing of the dog, and all basing it around that, and his experience in the music industry from years ago. Yeah, it was massive. It was massive. I mean, we couldn't have done it on our own without a shadow of a doubt. Yes, I mean, you've got someone like that in your corner. It's a big dog.
Yeah, Tom was known for being a larger than life figure in the industry. So what was it like working with him on a daily basis?
He was larger than life. He was larger than life. Very, yeah, he was just a larger than life character in all through his life. He'd sort of take control of the situations, and he was a larger than life character, which was great. And I think that's what helped with the record company and stuff. Yeah, that was him. He was a larger than life character. Very, I mean, what was he? Nearly 6 foot, 20 odd stone. He was a multi-millionaire. He probably didn't care much. But yeah, he was a larger than life character in real life. That was him. What you saw is what you get.
And Brian Harvey's departure was a pivotal moment for E17. So how did the band navigate the fallout after Brian's comments?
He came back about a few weeks later. They done another album and stuff, but it was very disruptive to the band. It was the beginning of the end, really, but it was falling apart anyway, and it was coming to the end of that time. I think we had 3 shows left anyway. But yeah, that was them comments. They were the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, with everyone. And yeah.
Was it the recent documentary? Carey says, maybe Tom could have been behind that. What do you think?
No. He might have got the ball rolling, but no.
Did you feel that the media's portrayal of the situation was fair to the band as a whole?
No. The media went off on their own one. The media went off, and everyone thinks that he was sacked over some comments that he made about XS. It wasn't. It was the behaviour leading up to it. But I don't think it was sackable. I don't think it was sackable because the behaviour couldn't be helped. No. The media always had their own ideas of what they was going to write anyway. So they just wrote things, and they still write things now, and they still go off, and they could hunt down the truth, but they don't. They like to sensationalism. I think that's what they went with, sensationalism, because that sells papers, and that's the business they're in. Yeah, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories, but no, it's very simple.
Well, E17 reunited in various forms over the years. So how did those experiences shape your
It never really went away. That's the thing. It never really went away. Terry went off. He's got a new bunch of lads now. It's never really, I left, Brian left, he came back. I went back about 10 years ago or something. But it's not really gone away. It's always carried on in one shape of.
How do you feel about that? Terry's doing it with the other guys now.
I think he's good to have the energy to get on stage. At the moment, I couldn't do all that. I really couldn't. I really don't have the travelling. Airports changed so much from the 90s. I remember going to City Airport in London. It was a tiny little thing. You just walked, put your bag down, walk through it. And then it's now getting on a plane is stress. Yeah, stress. I do the odd thing now and then, but no, I couldn't do it. Not at the moment.
And what about your relationship with the other guys? You all in good terms?
No, but if we was on good terms, we'd be in a band, wouldn't we? We don't speak. So I've not spoken to him. I think we've said all we need to say. I've not spoke to him for years. I spoke to him for years. No one speaks. But I think we've always got something in common, which is nice. I think we'll always have that in common. Yeah.
So how do you feel about the lasting legacy of E17, including the highs and the lows? Looking back, what would be your highlights?
The highlights of it. I don't know what we achieved in the 90s. Yeah, the early years, and that was good fun. I think, looking back, the early 90s. was good fun. And the achievement, obviously, Stay Another Day being a Christmas thing. Yeah, looking back, it was such a long time ago, but you know, I like to look back up with it with fondness. Really, I think that's the best way to look back on it. I think the sadness is you can't do it again. I think that's one of the. I think that's the sort of sad thing that you can't redo it. And it's so special at the time, but it'd be nice if you could, but you can't. And I think you have to accept that. And that's that it's a moment that's gone. But at least we had a moment. At least we had it for a moment.
If people wanted to understand the music of E17, what are the 5 songs they should listen to?
Music of E17, 5 songs. Stay Another Day, Deep, Around the World. Gosh, I suppose It's All Right and House of Love.
Good choices.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably think of some other ones, but yeah, I think maybe that.
I always loved Deep. Always
Did
thought
you? Yeah, thank you. That was, yeah, I liked Deep. It kind of really got the ball rolling. That's where the sort of first lot of interest came from, and if we didn't have that, it wouldn't have started. So that it's an important song to me, and it was another one that it was the only other one that was like Stay Another Day, where people heard it and really liked it, and were like, that's got something special. And the only other one they said that about was Stay Another Day. So they're the 2 songs that stand out to me. Thunder was another one that stood out because that people like that because I think that was the 3rd album, and I was refusing to write any songs for that album. So I had the record company ringing me, and they had the guys' songs in, and they said, we still haven't got an album. And I said, well, they're writing it. I'm not writing it. I'm not writing anything. So
why did you not want to write it?
I let them write it. They wanted to write some songs, so let them write it. But then you get the politics then get involved, where the record company and the producers are like, well, we haven't got an album. We haven't got an album. So in the end, I ended up writing 3 or 4 songs. I had to be pressured into doing that. But I wrote one called Thunder, and then everyone went, oh, at last we've got an album. And I still don't know what they meant. But yeah, so Thunder's another one that kind of sticks out. Maybe it's just one of those obscure tracks that was okay, and people liked it. But it was another one that people commented on. But Deep and Stay Another Day are the 2 that I've had most comments from people within the industry and outside back in the day. Yeah.
After leaving E17, you released your first solo single, Shake It Down, followed by songs from the Suitcase album, and which also includes the track Green in England with Julian Lennon, which, I mean, it's a complete departure sound-wise from E17. Did you enjoy making that album?
It was okay. It was okay. It was a departure because it was like nearly 20 years different. But no, the record company wouldn't let me do any rappy stuff or things like that. And I thought, that's kind of, I know it's a bit silly, but that is sort of my trademark, and it's my talent, and you can do so much with it. You can put melodies into the raps and stuff. There's sort of lots of things you can do. So I wasn't completely happy with it in the end, and it was okay. I was probably 60%, 65% happy with it. But yeah, I loved working with Jules. He was fantastic. He was great fun and a lovely fella, and that was a real special moment. And he has a fantastic vocal range as well. I mean, he seriously does, and he helped do the loads of backing vocals on an E17 album as well. He was a wonderful singer. He came in, and yeah, him and Greg. Yeah, it was wonderful. That was a good time. But no, you're right. I wasn't completely happy with it. I felt a little bit uncomfortable. I felt a little bit out of my comfort zone. But it was wonderful, and it was an experience. It was a musical experience. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever do another album. I think it'd be easier now because you don't have to deal with an industry as such. You can put them out yourself, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy to do it. But I have thought about doing it recently for the first time in, gosh, probably a decade. But I don't know what direction it'd go in.
Do you still keep writing songs?
Yeah, I write music. I love writing. I'm writing some books at the moment. Yeah, I'm getting more back into music than I have been in a long time. But I tend not to put it out for criticism. You put it out there for criticism. But I'm not sure if I could. I'm just giving you my thoughts now that I've been thinking about an album and stuff, but I'm not sure if I could. Take a lot of energy. What would I write about? My lawnmower's broken and run out of petrol. I don't know. I've been listening to, only recently, Paul McCartney's album, I think it's McCartney 3. And I thought, what's he writing about? Because he's great. He's fantastic. And, it's interesting to hear what men like that, and I'm going to listen to the Rolling Stones, what does a man that's 80 years of age write about? So I'm going to start doing some research, because unless you research and listen, then you can't really write songs yourself. You'll just be stuck. But I've got a lot of experience with music now that I could do something different, and I probably wouldn't work with a record company again in such, where they're so controlling over you and your music, because at the end of the day, it has to represent you. And then sometimes you can get a record company that says, well, actually, it's representing the record company. So you're like, it's me. And they're like, well, it's representing us. So you get this loggerhead and you just think, I just don't need that. I just don't need that. Sort of.
Criticize yourself. What do you think's more important? A good lyric or a good melody?
Oh, I mean, two completely different things. A good lyric or a good melody. I mean, I like a good lyric, like When Doves Cry, Purple Rain. A good lyric can really catch your attention. But I guess a melody, isn't it? I mean, a melody is really important because that's what a song is. It's vocal music. A song, I think a good melody is important. That's a tricky one. But yeah, I guess a good melody can be more important because you don't need words then, do you?
Do the melodies come to you first when you're writing?
Oh, it's all different. It's all different. It could. I'll draw on anything. It could be a drum beat. It could be a groove. It could be a bass line. Like Thunder was da 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 da, and that's what I had. So that was a melody. A few times it's been a melody. Stay Another Day was pretty melody dominant. But other times not so much. I mean, Deep wasn't melody dominant at all. But that was lucky because I wrote the bass line, and then people were like, "Oh, that reminds me a bit of Walk on the Wild Side." So I was lucky there. So that was kind of the baseline. But no, it can be anything. But if there's a nice melody, that can make it easy. Just hang some words off it. But sometimes it's nice to start with a word, like Poison or Toxic, those sort of songs. You think, right, I'm going to write a word around that. And Stay Another Day was 3 words that hung around for a while. So it can be a word. It can be a melody. I guess, I'm a wordy person. I'm a lyricist, I'd say. That's my natural sort of strength. I'm a lyricist.
Well, it's interesting what you said about Deep. I thought it would have been the piano would have maybe came first, and the song was built around that. So it's interesting you're saying it's about the bass.
Well, it was the bass that kind of stood out and made the piano. The piano was just sort of C to F, John Lennon's Imagine. So it was not really, wasn't really anything. It just went along and done its thing. But yeah, it was the bass that really made that, and the drum beat. I was inspired by Soul to Souls, that sort of boom,
Yeah.
I was inspired by that, and then just wanted to rap over it, really. And I spent ages editing those raps in that song. I spent weeks editing the raps. Like, I don't know why. And then sort of, I think the record company said, "Oh, that third verse is too rude. You're going to have to write another one." I think, write another one? That one took me about 3 weeks. You know, I was editing, and then, yeah, it's strange. But I do like Deep. It is funny. It's a funny old song of a teenager. Or was I 18 or something when I wrote it? I'm 19.
Just a couple more questions, Tony. I like to ask my guests the following questions. For us music fans, music is the soundtrack to our memories. What song or album, when you listen to it, brings back the best memories for you?
Oh, Purple Rain, Prince. I think it's going to be a Prince. It's going to be that, or Love Sexy, or Sign of the Times. Around that time, I was sort of 15. I think that, yeah, it could be any of them. I mean, I'd stumbled across this genius. We all had been exposed to this genius, and I just really liked his stuff. It was so broad. But what one? I'm going to go with Purple Rain.
The album?
Yeah, the album Purple Rain. I think, yeah, and that's what I kind of tried to copy for my little short career. Yeah, it's completely different, but yeah, he had some. He was great. So I'm going to go with Purple Rain.
Good choice. If you could go back and relive one musical moment from your career, what would it be?
I could relive one musical moment. Yeah, I could relive one musical moment. I think there's so many amazing things. I think being on the Brits, I'd relive that night. That was pretty special. So many special nights. Yeah, the Brit Awards. Yeah, probably that.
Any particular reason?
It was just a great night, but I think I got very drunk. I'm not a little bit of a cloudy blur. I think I got very drunk, but yeah, I think the Brits. I think the Brits night was good fun. I think I jumped off stage. It weren't a big thing. I jumped down, and then the next day I got up, and I couldn't walk. And I remember ringing Tom and going, "Tom, I can't walk." And he went, "Don't worry, we'll get you a cab." No, seriously, I can't walk. And I'd torn something in my thing, so I had to be wheeled out in a wheelchair. It was quite embarrassing on that time. And the doctors gave me some strong morphine. So I'd like to relive that a bit better.
I must see if that's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Well, Tony, apart from your collaboration with Nordoff and Robbins, are there any current projects or collaborations you're particularly excited about coming up?
Well, as a kind of departure from music, I've been writing a book for years. I've been writing my first book, which is about sort of music and magic, and that's been lots of fun because there's so many words, and it's just brilliant writing so many words. So I might release that maybe next year as a book. I think, maybe that's because you ask questions about music and the albums and that, and they don't. I just think I find that difficult, and performing and stuff. But writing books is kind of really, I like it. I can do it at home. Trouble is, it's not very good for your health because you sit down a lot. So that's a bit bad. But I've been doing that, and I am in the process of doing up my studio. So, and I've not done that for like 10 years. So I'm going to have a new music studio soon, and we'll see what comes out of that little bad boy. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well hopefully I'll have you back on to talk about what the outcome of that is.
Yeah. You don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. That'd be lovely, Mark.
you know, you're a great songwriter. You need to be writing the songs.
Oh, I've had my hour though, you know. I've had my hour, and if
Paul McCartney's still going.
God, he is. No, you're not wrong there. He
You can't,
really is.
you can't say you've had your hour.
I'm just grateful that I'm just grateful that I've had that. I've had what we had. I'm grateful for those years. I'm humbled by it, and you know, it was a great time. I know the wheels always come off at the end. We know that, and it's unfortunate, but maybe it's just the pressure of being in such a close proximity, different personalities and stuff. You know, I think maybe that's what happens, because it happens to everyone. But
yeah, every single band.
absolutely. And I think it's just, you know, you've got this tension that's these, like in our sense, there was these 4 bundles of energy that are contained, perhaps against their wishes towards the end, because you just want a break. And then maybe that's what happens. But I'm just grateful we had it. You know, it was great. It was great fun. And I stopped music years ago, but I got very depressed, and I found out that music was kind of in me, and writing is in me. So although I do say nonchalantly that, you know, I've stopped, I don't think I ever can. We just see whether it goes on and becomes something, or gets a hook. I don't know. We'll see. But might be fun to write songs at this age. Definitely be different.
Well, surely you must be walking around and melodies or lyrical ideas come into your head.
They do. I've got loads on my phone. Yeah, they do, because that's how my brain works. But I also get lots of story ideas for books, and I'd love to maybe get into writing a theatre thing or something, anything sort of creative that maybe stops me getting a normal job. I think I'm just not cut out for that.
Okay, well, Tony, listen, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. I really enjoyed it.
No, it's been a pleasure, Mark. Thank you very much.
I've took up a lot of your time. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. You take care.
Okay, Tony, well, listen, it's been brilliant. Have a good night, man. All right.
Thank you. You take care. Cheers, Mark.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye, mate. Bye, mate.
Bye. Bye.